Pachamama, Mama Pacha, Umpuy, 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 Amaru, Umpuy, Umpuy, Umpuy.
Hey, hello everybody. So I got another interview for you guys this week. This interview is with my friend Casey. Now, I haven't seen Casey in years, and I actually ran into him the other day, and he was telling me that he is a shaman now, and he practices shamanism and he does healings. And so I had all sorts of questions, and I knew that I had to get him on and do an interview with him. And so the following you're about to see is that interview. We go all over the place. He actually performs a healing on me, which was awesome. And if you're interested in booking a healing or seeing what Casey does, you can find him on YouTube at The Space Shaman. You can go to his website at shamanswayhealing.com. I think it might still be under construction. But then you can also, let's see, we have, if you want to send a message, Casey the Space Shaman at gmail.com. So if you want to send him a message directly, that'd probably be the way. But I thoroughly enjoyed this interview. I really had a good time. I definitely got to have Casey back on. But I hope you guys enjoy it too. Please enjoy. All right. Well, so Casey, when I ran into you at Planet Fitness, you were telling me that you were in the business of shamanism, and I run into old friends a lot, and very rarely do I ever hear people being in the business of shamanism. And I know I had all sorts of questions for you, but first off, how did you get into becoming a shaman?
Yeah, so it's a long story that I'll kind of condense down a bit, but basically, before I met you at Westlake High School, and the reason, I don't know if you went to that schooling system before high school or if you were, because I know a lot of people went like to the middle school, and then some people were in like the same kind of elementary or school before that and all that stuff. So I was kindergarten through 8th grade at a private Catholic school. And I was raised very like strict Republican Christian, where and this is all I was around in this private school setting was, you don't question anything, go to church in the middle of class and like just do what you're told, sit down, shut up, don't question anything. This is how it is. We'll force feed you everything you need to know. And I wasn't exposed to really anything outside of that culture. And so coming to Westlake High School, which is where we went to high school together, I was introduced to all kinds of people of different beliefs, backgrounds, and everything. And so I started to question a lot. And the questioning, I think, actually started in middle school at the private school. I'll actually never forget this one exercise we did where the teacher gave us like an exercise to write down, and it said, if Jesus showed up and he said, come follow me, I'll take you into the promised land or the heaven or whatever like that, what are some things, what are 3 things that you just couldn't live without? And everyone was supposed to sit down and write down these things that they couldn't live without. And people were writing down like, well, I need soap to wash myself, or like this, or like certain foods or whatever, video games and stuff. And I was the only one in the class where I didn't write anything down. And the teacher was like, well, you didn't write anything down. And I'm like, yeah, this is the guy you've been telling us is our savior. Like, if he shows up and he says, follow me into heaven, there's nothing I can't live without. I don't need anything. And he goes, well, no, you have to write something down. There has to be something you can't live without. And so I went, wait a minute, this guy who's supposed to be the one teaching me about, my spirituality and all this, I don't think he understands the exercise that he's teaching us. And so I started to question back then, and then got into Westlake High School, where there's all different people and different ways of thinking and viewing the world. And so I really started to question things, and then I got deep into the study of like science and quantum physics and things, and started to question everything. And I actually at one point became like a hardcore militant atheist for several years, where like if you had any kind of spiritual belief about anything, if you believed in God or spirituality or the afterlife or anything, you're an idiot. And I'm so smart that I can prove why with science. And that was kind of where I was. I was very miserable during that time. I would go around and like people had spiritual beliefs. I'd be like, well, using logic to try and, prove them wrong and all this stuff. And it's very miserable. I didn't know it at the time, but Spirit had other plans for me. And I won't get into the details of exactly how this happened, but I had a near-death experience. And I was laying in a hospital bed, and I found myself floating in a void. I was physically laying in the hospital bed. I was out of body, floating in this void. And I was still at this point so arrogant, so full of myself, that the question that I asked into this void space was not like, is there anything after this? Or is there an afterlife or anything? I actually asked, there's nothing after this, right? As in like, it's just nothing, right? And what hit me was the power of what at the time I can only describe it as being like a god uh hitting me, and it hit me with this like no, but it was a no that like shattered all my previous beliefs and worldviews and sent me flying back out of this void through space and time and into my body. And then after that, all of a sudden I could feel and see things that I couldn't before. And again, this is a condensed version of the story. There's a lot more to it, but at first, it would cause a lot of chaos because I came from, that background where, spirituality is just, you go to church and the priest reads you the Bible and there's nothing outside of that. And then I was an atheist where there's nothing at all. It's all just a dead, dry, dull reality. It's all just dead matter, and we're just sacks of meat. So when I started to be able to see and feel energy, I didn't know that's what was happening because I'd never been exposed to it. And it's not like nowadays. Now that, we were just talking about TikTok a moment ago. You go on TikTok, there's millions of people making spiritual videos on TikTok. Even on Facebook, before TikTok was a thing, there were still all these groups. You could go on and search spiritual awakening, energy, Reiki, Kundalini, all this stuff. And there's tons of groups where you can talk to people and all this stuff. And none of that existed back when I was going through my initial awakening process. So I kind of had to figure it out on my own, but it caused a lot of chaos for me. Slowly through the years, I started to tap in and feel the sacred nature of what was happening to me. Had a few people come along at the right time and kind of show me and teach me things. And then I actually started to seek out. I was like, okay, well, all this really powerful, intense stuff is happening to me. I can feel within me that there's something sacred and important and very real about it. And spirit, again, was taking this logical, skeptical mind of mine and giving me proof over and over and over again that these experiences that I had were very, very real. It just spirit pounded it into my head until I'd have to be an idiot to have any doubt about these things that I experienced. But I'll never forget, I was seeking some way to learn about what was going on. And so I think I was just like researching into like places that I can go to meditate around me, because that's all I really, meditation. I knew that was the thing. I thought, hey, might as well try that out. There's actually a Zen temple in I think it's Parma or Cleveland. It's been years since I've been there, but Shifu Yingfa is the Zen master there. He's also a Qigong master, and I was studying under him, and I was attending like 2 or 3 times a week these meditations. It was Sazen, which is sitting meditation, and then he would do Qigong as well. So he was talking about chi and how it's energy and all of this stuff. And I was asking all kinds of questions. One day I stayed after. Everyone else had left from the meditation. All the other monks had left, and it was just me and Shifu Yingfa sitting there. And I asked him, you keep talking about chi and you say it's energy, but I don't understand. What does that mean? You say it's energy. Is it like, is it electricity? Is it the ATP in our cells? Or like, I don't get it. What do you mean chi is energy? What is energy? And so as I'm asking these questions, he just casually takes off this little Buddha necklace he had. He holds it straight like this. And then with one hand, he makes this little gesture like that. And this thing went from here to woof, and it swung around the other side of his hand. Now, this wasn't like he went like this and built up the momentum and got it to swing around. It was dead stop, slight gesture to boom, it got pushed around the other side of his hand. And my jaw just dropped, and I was like, I just witnessed real life superpowers. That was telekinesis. And he just goes, it's chi. And he showed me a few other things that completely defied the laws of physics as I understood them. And I was like, okay, well, I need to dedicate myself to figuring this out and understanding this, because that was pretty incredible. So I did. I was studying directly under the tutelage of the spirits. At a certain point, I discovered shamanic journeying, which was actually something I had been doing since I was a young kid, but didn't know that's what I was doing. And then rediscovered it. I think there was this book that I found at the library that was talking about shamanic journeying, and I only made it like a couple of chapters in. I was like, oh, I've been doing that since I was a kid, and so this is a real thing that people practice all over the world. So I sat down and started journeying and connected with various guiding spirits, beings that exist outside of this physical realm, but are very conscious and real, just like us. And they started to guide me. That was when I really started to embody my work as a healer and as a shaman, as a nature mystic. And then there was one day, as I was learning about energy from the spirits, learning to connect and do all of this stuff. And then I was at Huntington Beach in Bay Village, Ohio, because there's a Huntington Beach in California. So some people might get confused with that. I'm talking about Huntington Beach, Bay Village, Ohio. I was up there, and at the time, I just went around talking to everybody about my experience, because it was so amazing. And this reality for me that was so bleak and dull and dry and dead was now becoming more and more alive and beautiful and magical as the days went by. So I wanted to talk to everybody about it, because I've always been the kind of person where I meet someone, if I haven't seen them in a while, or it's someone new, I like to talk about the things that are exciting to me, that bring me joy. Whereas, some people, they meet you, all they want to do is complain about their life. Whereas I've always thought, hey, this is the cool thing happening to me. So that was just natural. Hey, I'm discovering all this about energy, and this stuff is real. And all the stuff they told us is a lie, and all this crazy stuff. And so I was talking to this guy at Huntington Beach about energy. Don't know how I got on that, how I got to talking to him about it, or how I even connected with him. But I remember what he looked like, and I remember this conversation I had with him. And I was telling him about energy, and he goes, oh, my dad's a Reiki healer. And I go, oh, what's that? I never heard of Reiki back then. It wasn't as big of a thing, or at least it wasn't as widely talked about as it is now. I said, what is that? And he said, well, he uses energy like you're talking about to heal people. And without thinking about it, I just blurted out, oh, I can do that. And I was like, why did I say that? And I'm like, okay, well, so I didn't think about it. And I just went, okay. I said, your knee hurts. And he says, yeah, I have Osgood-Schlatters disease. So my knees are very painful all the time. And I went, okay, I can fix that. And again, no thoughts going through my head. I didn't know why I was saying this or anything. But then all of a sudden I could see in his knee, energetically, there's this really big dark mass around it. And I went in and I pulled it. I could see it coming out of his knee. I pulled it and put it in the ground. And then I could see the structure of his knee energetically, the CK lines running. I didn't know that's what they were, but I could see it. The CK lines running through. And I was filling things back up with light and rearranging things. And I just stopped and I said, how does it feel? And he bends down and stands up. He's like, oh, there's no pain. And then he starts jumping up and down, like jumping up and down. And he goes, I haven't been able to jump up and down like that in 10 years. And I was like, wow, I just discovered something pretty amazing right here. Another superpower I've unlocked. So from that day on, I just went around and I was like a street healer. I would go around like meeting random people in random places. I would be at the bar and go up to people at the bar and and do healings on them. And one of my favorite things to do was take skeptical people. I'm not so interested in this anymore, but back then I was. Or I would take skeptical people and I'd be like, hey, I can heal you with energy. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And then I would say, okay, well, does your shoulder hurt? I'm like, yeah, how did you know that? Well, just sit there for a second. I do my thing. How does it feel now? And they're like, I'm trying to make it hurt, but I can't. How did you do that? What the hell? They're like, what did you do to me? And I used to love that reaction of their mind just being blown. I got a kick out of it. So I eventually, when I did get certified in Reiki, which was really interesting because I was very sensitive to energy and could already do so much. I really just wanted the Reiki certification to have a piece of paper saying that I was certified in something. But I was like, hey, if I get some really powerful teachings or, insights or downloads out of this, and that's great too. And so I went to see this woman for Reiki attunement. And she sits me down, and I said, hey, before we get into this, can I feel you flowing Reiki? Can I feel what that feels like? So she puts her hands on me and starts doing this. And I just feel the subtlest little trickle of energy. And I was like, well, you can make it stronger, right? And she's like, well, that's what Reiki is. And I was like, oh. I was like, I can do things that are way more advanced than this. But I paid for it, and I went through the attunement, got the piece of paper, and I was like, okay, well, maybe that's not where I'm meant to, receive my teachings. And also Reiki, for those who aren't familiar, it may be different. I'm sure I have met people who are Reiki healers who are extremely skilled healers, but it's not because of their Reiki training. They had it within them already. Reiki was just their introduction to energy healing. And I've been to two different people who gave me the different attunements. They were, it's basically how Reiki works is you pay someone a couple $100, they send some energy through you, and then you're level 1, and they do that again, and you're level 2, and they do that again, and you're a master. I was like, that's not how you become a master at anything. So I started to really train. I trained under the tutelage of my spirits, and throughout all the years of practicing, doing healing, and going deep, deep, deep into the mysteries, I knew at some point I would find my teacher, the teacher that I was really meant to find. And I had been practicing shamanic healing and shamanic practices on my own for many years, but I was like, if I could find a real, shaman, someone who really resonates to train under, that would be great. And there were a lot of synchronistic events. At one point, I actually started to get a lot of signs from spirit. It was coming through all different channels. So like, it's time to seek out a teacher. It's time to take your experience, your training to another level. I was already very, very powerful. I could do incredible, miraculous healings and many incredible things that most people would have a hard time believing, like real telekinesis and other things like that. And but I was like, I need organization, and I need something to help take this to the next level. And so a lot of synchronicities around this, around people that I had met through manifestation experiences, people who I set the intention out there to manifest coming into my lives, who showed up in ways that you wouldn't believe unless you were there. Those people from all those years ago, manifesting that all came together, and it came to me meeting my teacher, Don Zane Kerfman, who has lived with the Keros. The Keros are the native people that live high in the mountains, the Andes of Peru. And he's also trained with Afro-Caribbean shamans. He's trained in African Sansei. He's trained with North American shamans, the curanderos and curanderas of South America. He's a huachimero, which is like the San Pedro healers. Ayahuasquero, he's trained as an ayahuasquero. But although he didn't go all the way through the training for that. That's really intense training. But he studied with tobaqueros. He studied with many different shamanic traditions and other traditions outside of shamanism all throughout the world. He's a very, very powerful person. But the first time I met him, I attended a little workshop he was doing before an apprenticeship that he was holding for shamanism. As soon as I met him, I could see his energy field. I could feel him. One, I was like, I've known this guy forever. And second, I can see and feel how powerful he is. And this is the teacher I've been looking for my whole life. I knew that right away as soon as I met him. And then started apprenticing under him. I've been apprenticing under him for 2.5, 3 years now. It's basically studying under him has taken all of this, 14 or so years worth of knowledge that came directly from spirit, gave it organization and structure, and elevated it to a completely new height. That's how I came to be the space shaman. Like I said, I know I was talking for a while, but that's still the very condensed down version of the story.
That was awesome. No, not a problem, Casey. There was so much in there. First and foremost, I didn't realize that you had a near-death experience. So I work at a company called All Foils, and I have a lot of time I get my headset on, and actually I was working back for them back in 2018. I was there, and lot of dead time with that job, so I get to listen to podcasts, music while I'm doing what I got to do. I got very into near-death experiences.
Mm.
IAM's International Association of Near-Death Studies, a lot of great
Oh,
channels like on YouTube, and I just became fascinated with the subject. I was always spiritually inclined, where I was always very interested in spirit growing up. A lot like you, I wouldn't say I was necessarily didn't grow up in a hardcore Christian household. It was more my dad's father. He was more a little more firmer into Christianity. I always considered myself. Remember MySpace. I would always write under religion. I put open-minded Christian, and that's where I was for a long time.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but uh, that's crazy though. You had a near-death experience, and what's funny is a lot of people report after they have those kind of experiences coming back, and they have, whether that be telekinesis, clairvoyance,
Mhm.
clairsentience, they come back with something. Something. I don't want to say something's off, but they have a gift. They have a gift from the other side, and that's
Mhm.
fascinating. So, would you say that the near-death experience? You were saying that before that, when you were younger, you didn't realize you were having shamanic journeys. But would you say the near-death experience is kind of what set you more or less on the path, developing these
Oh yeah,
abilities?
yeah, absolutely. So I had well, I guess I'll talk about it. So so when the shamanic journey when I was younger, it was actually a point where I went around telling people I can communicate with spirits and I journey to the spirit world and all this stuff. And I was a kid, so it was funny because there was this part of me that like fully knew it was real, and there was a part of me that was like, this is just playtime, pretend, and it's fun. I didn't really know where I even stood on it. This is when I was, a lot younger.
Sure.
Um, so I've always, I mean, we all have these abilities within us. It's just we're programmed out of them. So after I was heavily programmed out of my natural gifts, it was definitely the near-death experience that kind of uh, brought me back and brought things online in a whole different way. Um, uh, I was starting to question. As I was questioning more and more and more, going down the atheist thing, I started to become fascinated with the mind. I was like, well, if there's nothing outside of this experience, then and like what is this reality even then? Because we're not really experiencing reality, we're just experiencing our brain, a bunch of neurons in our brain. And so I was studying that. I got into lucid dreaming, and again, it was just a pure out of fascination and like to exploring the subconscious, because I had the awareness that in the subconscious mind there's like a lot of power, way more power than we're aware of. So I was looking to ways to tap into that. So studying lucid dreaming, got really deep into that, and what started to question reality, because one of the things that you need to do in order to, if unless you're uh, unless you naturally have the aptitude to just naturally become lucid in your dreams, then one of the ways you go about it is that you do reality checks. So you have to, during the day, during your waking life, do different things, techniques to question whether or not you're in a dream in your waking life. And you can't just go, am I dreaming? Nope, I'm awake. Okay, move on. You have to really sit there and go like, hold on, I'm pretty sure I'm awake, but is this a dream? I'm not sure. Is this real? Is this a dream? I don't know. And then the thing is, you do that enough during your waking life, that habit carries over into your dreams. And then when you do the reality check, these certain techniques or things you look for, and you go, oh, okay, I'm in a dream. And then you can play and do all kinds of incredible things. But I went so deep into it that I started to actually lose track of, which reality was which. I never did anything, violent or out there. I was just like, I don't know if I'm in a dream, telling people like, I think this is a dream right now and all of this stuff. And so my parents being very, conservative and closed-minded to that kind of thing, they were like, well, and this was already the beginning of my awakening, by the way. But they saw this and they were like, okay, he needs to be checked out, in the hospital and see maybe there's
Sure.
something wrong with him. So they took me into a hospital and they gave me, I can't remember, I don't remember what the name of the drug was. They gave me some medication, and I had there. It's like one of those things where there's like a really tiny chance that you could have a severe reaction and it could cause you to like die. Well, I had that reaction to the medication.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and so I remember the last thing I remember is I was in this room, and all of a sudden I could feel my throat starting to close up and my whole body like tensing and like convulsing. And I walked out into the hallway and looked at this nurse, and then I remember falling over. And then next thing I know, I was floating in the void, and that's where that whole story goes from there.
So that was the near-death experience right there.
Yeah.
Oof. Oh, geez. So you're
Yeah.
saying that that people have the ability. Do you believe that everybody has the ability to heal themselves in one
Oh
way
yes.
or another?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the main reasons I'm here, is to help people to remember that. So for example, in Keros, they are the Paco Kuna traditions. The tradition I'm trained in is the tradition of the Keros, the natives of the Andes, and uh, uh, they live pretty much the same way today that they did thousands of years ago. And the Paco Kuna tradition actually predates the Incan Empire. We know this because in their stories, they have stories of the first Inca. So Inca actually means, well, it's not a really good way to translate it. It's like a king, but it's one who can evenly distribute the life force energies throughout an entire kingdom and organize the energies of an entire kingdom. So the first Inca passed through Keros on his way to form the Incan Empire. And the Keros have stories of that. So we know that the Paco Kuna tradition actually predates the Incan Empire. It could be even far older than that, as far as we know. But they live pretty much the same way they did all those years ago. Part of the reason being, like a lot of these other shamanic traditions throughout South America and around the world, but in particular South America is where we'll focus for now, were heavily influenced by Christianity as the Spanish conquistadors came through. And the reason the Keros were left alone is that they just lived way too high up in the mountains. So when the Spanish tried to take their troops to come up and take over, it was the altitude sickness got to them, and they didn't have a way to combat it, and so they just couldn't get up there. So the Keros were just left alone. So for that reason, their spiritual traditions have basically been preserved. And it's also an unbroken healing lineage, which is another rare thing, which means that as far as the Paco Kuna tradition has been practiced, there has always been at least one person holding the knowledge and passing it down to the next generation. It's never been broken, like it was lost and then people had to relearn it and rediscover it. It's unbroken, which is truly rare. So there's really nothing else like it on the planet. I don't really remember why I was getting into talking about that.
I was asking about the ability for people to heal themselves.
Yes. Okay. So again, so today the only real difference between how they used to live and nowadays is, well, one, they go into town, which they still would do that. They would go into town and trade their cloths that they weave and everything like that. But in terms of technology, some houses and some villages will have a single solar panel that gives them that lights a light bulb for about an hour or two after dark. And that's the only technology from the modern era that they really have. Other than that, they live the same way they did. And even today, if you want to get to Keros, to the lowest village, there are villages that are higher up in the mountains, but to get to the lowest village in Keros, if you can get someone to drive you to the furthest point that they can drive you, it's still, I think I can't remember if my teacher said it was 4 or 7 days hike through the mountains to get to the lowest village. And so now think of being a Kero, and you get sick, you break your arm or something. Are you gonna hike 3 to 7 days down the mountain and then hope you can find a car for someone to give you a ride, and if not, hike another week or more to get to the nearest hospital? I mean, no, you don't have that luxury if you're sick or injured. The Pacos, they don't hold on to any healing techniques out of antiquity. It's not, well, I practice this because my great grandfather did, and he passed it on to my grandfather and then to me and all this stuff. No, they practice healing techniques and nature mysticism rituals because they work and they have to work. And they pass these things down because they continue to work. This is just something we've forgotten. We've given away our power in the modern in our modern culture, because we've traded it for conveniences, and we didn't really have a choice in the matter, I don't think. Well, we always have a choice, but the way things have been organized, we were kind of coerced into giving up our power. So it was ancient knowledge that we all have the ability to heal ourselves from severe pain, chronic illness, all of these things. This is very, very old knowledge. And today it's just people are starting to, in the Western culture, wake up to that again. The Caros actually perceived a sign. It's a living prophecy that they have of the times that we're in right now. They perceived a particular sign that was meant to happen. A certain volcano was going to erupt. And they saw that volcano erupt, and they said, okay, now it's time to start teaching the rainbow tribe of man. It's time to start teaching all of the children of the earth the ancient wisdom. And so they'll take anyone who wants to learn if they come, and they'll teach their ancient ways. So that's one of the things that I love to do, is to show people just how powerful they are. We are limitless eternal beings, and this isn't something new agey and just like a throwaway phrase that I'm throwing out there, but this is something that I have is my direct experience every single day, every moment. In this one eternal moment of now, is that I am a limitless eternal being. I can do anything. I am everything. And so all of us have the ability to heal ourselves. I'll tell a couple of stories real quick. Myself, I suffered because of certain things like the near-death experience, other very traumatic events that happened. I suffered from like severe anxiety for many years, to the point where, I was diagnosed with all kinds of things. Like, you're just going to have anxiety for forever, and you'll have to take drugs, and maybe it'll help, maybe it won't, but you're always going to suffer from this. And it got so bad at certain points, I actually lost jobs over it. I couldn't even go into work because of panic attacks and all this stuff. And even getting in the car to drive would have been a very anxiety inducing situation. Even having a Zoom call like this and talking would have been very anxiety inducing. And through shamanic practices, and especially through breath work, I am at the point now where I wake up and I just, with extreme gratitude every day for this paradise that I live in. Me and my friend Tony talk about it all the time. We live in this incredible paradise. It's, of course, I'm a human being. I have a human body, so I'm going to experience some natural amount of anxiety from time to time. That's a part of the human experience. Would I say I'm like a chronic anxiety sufferer or have some disorder? No. I would have said that a number of years ago, but my experience the majority of the time now is beauty, peace, and bliss, and natural highs, which I'm hoping to expose everyone to during this interview that we're doing here. So that's like psychological healing. Someone with severe crippling anxiety bring themselves to a place where they can say they truly love life and are in bliss and peace almost all the time. My friend Anthony Smigelski of the Positive Pineapple, which you guys should check him out as well. Also, he's amazing.
Shout out to the Positive Pineapple.
Yeah, absolutely. He had, the reason I'm sharing his story is mine was more mental, emotional. His is an incredible story of physical healing. So he had severe COPD, emphysema, rheumatoid arthritis, malignantly high blood pressure, and among other things that I'm not remembering. And then, of course, really bad anxiety and depression on top of that because of all the physical issues. And he was basically dying. He was pretty much terminally ill, to the point where if he were to take a big breath in to laugh or cry, just like that, that would send him into a coughing fit that sometimes left him bedridden for like 3 days at a time. That was how ill he was. And so he was just slowly on his way to suffering until he died. And so he sat there one night and he said, he's like, okay, why would I continue if I'm just going to continue to suffer and die? Why choose to be here? And he said, if there's anything out there, and there's a reason for me to not suffer. Show me, give me some kind of sign. And something came in, and he heard something within him say, try looking at things more positively. And at the time he went, what the hell does that mean? I'm a realist. I see things how they are. But what it made him do was question. And he went, wait a minute. Well, I guess I don't really see things how they are. I see things how I think they are. And then that made him start to question and question and question. And then he started researching and researching. He's a highly, highly intelligent person also. He was researching all of this stuff. And then eventually came across breathwork. And the person that introduced him to breathwork was a guy named Troy Casey. And so he started doing this breathwork and doing this deep dynamic breathing, and other spiritual practices. At first, doing this deep dynamic breathing, his ego was telling him, you have COPD, you can't be doing this. This is going to kill you. But something else within him, he didn't know it at the time. It's the spirit was saying, keep going, keep going, keep going, go deeper. And through breathwork, cold exposure, and different forms of healing, I think he said it was within like 6 months, about 60% of his symptoms were gone. And then within a year, he was like 95% symptom free. And you've seen him now at the gym. This dude can lift the entire stack of weights at the gym without getting out of breath, without breaking a sweat. He is one of the healthiest, happiest people
He looks healthy as can be at that gym.
Yeah, he's amazing. So he goes to the doctor now, and they asked him, well, do you have any like chronic illnesses, diseases, things like this? And he said, well, I used to have COPD, arthritis, all this different stuff. And they said, what do you mean used to? You can't heal from those things. And he says, well, I did. So here I am.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so absolutely. And me and him aren't anomalies either. We're not anomalies. It's just we're a little early to the party. Everyone can do this, and we're showing people. This is one of the things. I have regular clients. I have apprentices, people who apprentice under me. And one of the things that's been coming through a lot recently is me showing people how to do these kinds of incredible, miraculous healings that I'm able to facilitate for people, showing people how to do that themselves without needing me at all. And it's so incredible and fulfilling to see that, relatively effortlessly, I can pass this on to those who are ready to receive it. And it's not so much I'm passing something that I have on, it's just me showing them, hey, look, this is inside of you. You can already do this. Yeah.
That's awesome, Casey. And you know what? Breath work, for anybody who's listening and who doesn't know what breath work is, look into it. My experience, I didn't have a near-death experience, but my awakening goes back a little bit. My awakening started with, I describe my psychedelic experiences were lectures from Ram Dass, Terrence McKenna, Alan Watts. Those were my guys for many years and still very much are. But eventually my journey led me down to, I know I was mentioning this to you at the gym, led me down to Soul Quest, which is a church in Florida, where they serve the sacrament of ayahuasca. And so it's one of the legal places where you can get ayahuasca in the U.S. And it was me and a friend of mine. This was back, this goes 2 years now, going on 3 years, 2019. And I wasn't sure what to expect. I didn't really have any psychedelic experiences up to that point, maybe one psilocybin experience, but I didn't know what to expect. And the first thing when I got down there was the sense of community. It was wonderful. It was people were so friendly. They were so open. I feel like if my if my parents or other friends saw the community, they would probably describe it actively as a hippie kind of community. But boy, did it feel like home. These people were fantastic. But it was people, they were drug addicts, people with severe trauma early in life, and they came to ayahuasca for the deep healing. And I know you got to come in with intent. And my intent was, all I wanted was to experience the love of the universe. A lot of the near-death experiencers, all those people, they always, there's so many similarities when you listen to those stories for hours and hours on end, as I did when I was working, and it all comes back to love. It all comes
Uh-huh.
back to love.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, Mother Ayahuasca, if I could have anything, just the love of the universe, and I'll be good. I'll be good if I can get ahead of that. Well, I'll tell you what, brother, she delivered, and oh my God, it was fantastic, and it was beautiful. It was energy like I never felt before, flowing through my body. It's like my body was plugged into a socket, and
Yep. That's
I
so, I just had to pause you right there. It's so
sure.
funny that you say that because I use that exact terminology all the time to describe my experiences of energy. I'll say people, it feels like I'm plugged into an electrical socket.
Yeah, or I know I like to think of it in my other experiences that I've had, almost like I become a tuning fork, and I feel the frequency and it's Tesla's quote where he says, "If you wish to know more about the universe, energy, vibration, frequency." I think to some extent that's how the quote goes. Don't quote me verbatim, but in those experiences, you're like right on. It's all about vibration, frequency, and I was just thinking in my head because they had the music going, you kind of lose track of time. Time's a little different, of course,
Yep.
as you know, in that state. And I think it back, I'm like, I must have looked like one twisted guy. I was sitting outside on an air mattress because that's where there was a lot of people, but we had the air mattresses outside, and I was just like twisting and turning, and I did not get sick. Some people purge. They
Yeah.
have that
Yeah.
negative, the trauma, the energy comes out of them.
Mhm.
I did the second day, no diarrhea, knock on wood. Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
One of the quotes, Casey, I think you'd like this. It was I had to write this down in my journal. They were giving us a heads up on our first night. They were like, "All right, we start with the first quote is never trust an ayahuasca fart," and I'm like, I'm in the right place. This is that's epic, and
Uh-huh.
to this day, I never do. To this day, Casey, I never
So
do.
it's funny. My cousin, when he was walking the Camino, which is like the entire length of Spain and Portugal, there was someone there, I think, from Peru, and he was talking to my cousin, and he was that when you're on a big pilgrimage like that, you get to connect with certain people, and person from Peru was like, he was like, oh, you have to come back to my country and experience ayahuasca, and he said, and he said it in. I don't know if it was Spanish or Quechua or something, but it translated to the experience of ayahuasca is puke, shit, and cry. He's like, you puke, shit, and cry. It is beautiful.
Sign me up, baby. Sign me up.
Yeah.
But it was at that point where, even though I would describe that was my first quote unquote spiritual experience, I think in the end you see that it's all a spiritual experience. But
Yeah.
at that point, that was my first time where I'm like, oh, this was an experience that I can't deny. That was my first sacred my first spiritual experience with like the plant medicine, and it was just
Mhm.
fantastic. But so the second day, so after that first experience, they talked about people kept talking about breath work. And I was
Mhm.
like, I just wanted to try the ayahuasca again. I'm like, okay, I got the first night. It was crazy. It was beautiful. I'm ready for it the second night. But before we go into the ceremony at nighttime, they're like, we're gonna do breath work. And what they had us doing was we kind of all got comfortable. We were all in one big circle, and there's probably about 20, 25 of us. And they were like, all right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna breathe deeply, and we're gonna get some music. So with a good drum beat, good rhythm to it, and you're just gonna breathe to the music, and you're not gonna stop. You're not gonna stop for the next. We're gonna go for the next hour. They showed us how to properly do it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. It's like when in life do you ever really focus on deep breathing for a very long, extended period of time?
Yeah. And
And
it's not just for people listening, it's not just like slow, relaxed breathing, like counting in 7, counting out 7. It's dynamic. I mean, it can get to
yes, yes,
really intense super oxygenation and these kinds
that's
of things.
right. Like a hyperoxygenation. Well, 8 minutes into it, Casey, I'm, I'm, I'm getting these sensations throughout my body. Like I'm vibrating. I'm like, I'm not on any ayahuasca, no mushrooms, nothing. And I look
Yeah.
over at this girl and she's crying. She's crying and she's kind of she's kind of shaking. And they're saying, everybody reacts differently and it's energy, just kind of go with the music. And it's very, very safe atmosphere. They have everyone, looking out for people. It was very beautiful. But just from sheer breathing after that hour, I was like, I never thought that would be possible.
Yep.
And the altered state that you go in, and it was very much a psychedelic experience.
Mhm.
It was very fascinating. And to this day, I try to do it. I wish to do it more often. I know it definitely takes a little bit of effort. So I kind of, because it's going to the gym, and because it does take a little bit of work. But
In the beginning, after a while, it becomes effortless because I practice
Is it?
breath work multiple times a day. Not
Okay.
whole hour-long sessions, but I'll do shorter sessions multiple times a day. And at first, it's a workout and it's effort, especially your diaphragm. It will
Yes.
get really sore. Your abdominals will get really sore, but especially the diaphragm, it tones very quickly. So when you do it regularly, diaphragm tones extremely quickly. The abdominal muscles that are involved in the breathing will tone really quickly as well, to where I can breathe for an hour straight and it's effortless for me at this point. So in the beginning, but then also there's consciousness technology that you combine it with. So just by breathing, you're participating in Aini and divine reciprocity. Every out breath, every in breath is an exchange of energy with the entire universe. And so when you breathe in this more dynamic, deep way, you're bringing far more light energy into your system than you're used to having that illuminates you, and this in a similar way that like a plant medicine would, but it's a more organic way of doing that. So you can absolutely achieve states that are not only similar to psychedelics, but you can go beyond and have experiences that are more powerful than any psychedelic plant medicine could create through the breath alone. When you start to combine the breath with consciousness technology, actually driving energy through the body in specific ways, that just takes it to a whole other level, to the point where I can show you how to have an experience of just sitting there and drinking in Sami light of the universe. And you'll already feel like you've been doing breath work for hours, just from drinking light without doing any kind of extra breathing, just normal regular breathing without focusing on your breath. And then you get charged up to a certain point, you take a single breath in and just hold, and then you just kind of almost have like a DMT blast off without even doing the breath to prepare you for it. So yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just
Oh
wanted to
no,
jump in with
no,
that.
no! It's so fascinating. I thought that was awesome. Now, this consciousness driving that you're talking about, is that picturing, for example, I don't know if this would be Kundalini yoga, picturing when you're breathing in or you're bringing up energy up and down the spine. Does that have something to do with what you're talking about?
There are many different consciousness technologies and
Okay.
that you can use for breath work. But we say it's more important than actually like visualizing or tracking the flow of any energies that we're working with. Like in the Paku Kun tradition, we say we have two tools for creating and working with energy, and those are intention and perception. And the intention is like if you have a bowstring drawn back, when you let go of the arrow, that's the setting of the intention. But after that, you're not sitting there going like running after the arrow and trying to make it move the right way. What do? You let go and you perceive. So when working with energy, it's the same thing. You let go, that's the intention, then you perceive the arrow flying, and whatever happens, happens. So when we're doing something with energy, say we're intending to bring light from the Hanach Pacha, the upper world, down through our body. You simply set the intention for the light to start flowing, and then you let go and you perceive whatever you perceive. You just feel it, knowing that automatically it's a fundamental law of the universe that whatever intention you set out there, the universe will automatically respond, especially in the energetic world. So that's one of the big things for like a lot of people getting into energy work. They're like, I just can't focus. I can't do this because I can't feel it moving through every part of my body, and it's so hard to maintain the focus. It's like, well, stop focusing then. Just set the intention, let go, and feel whatever you feel. And at first, it may be kind of subtle when making these intentions for things to happen. You may feel subtle sensations, and as your nervous system starts to attenuate, as as your connection to spirit grows stronger, it becomes effortless to the point where just half a thought of setting an intention, not even a thought, just a feeling of setting an intention for something to start flowing, and it starts flowing, and you can feel very powerful sensations. So I'm gonna take a sip of water here real quick.
Casey, you're rocking those pajama pants.
Oh, thank you. Nice, dude. Pajama pants inside, like that's the only pants to wear.
What you gotta do. It's what you gotta do. Thank God I put on pants for this. That's all I'm saying. I just
Right. This is fun, man. Thank you.
Thank you for doing this, Casey. Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. So what I want to do is guide everyone first through an experience of breath work. We've been talking about how powerful the kinds of states you can bring yourself to with breath work are. And so I want to give everyone a little taste of that. So before we jump into this, I want to say, first off, don't do this while you're driving. Don't do this while you're in a body of water. Don't do this in a sauna. Don't do this standing or walking or running or any of those things. You want to make sure you are fully supported. So if you're in a chair, lean back, make sure you're nice and supported and comfortable. Ideally, if it's your first time, you would lie fully down. Because there really, with breathing, there's no real danger to it, other than if you're new to it, you can become very dizzy and you could fall over, and you could black out for a second. And that's if you push yourself too far. If that were to happen, the only risk of that is that you would hit your head on something. So we just want to make sure that we're in a position where if we were to take ourselves too far and fall over, we're not going to hit our head and get a concussion. Other than that, as long as you're supported, lying down, sitting down where you're supported, you're totally safe. And you're going to feel some strong sensations as we do this. You will feel tingling in your hands and feet and face in particular, usually throughout the whole body. You may feel like, oh, I'm really lightheaded, I'm going to pass out. While we're doing the circular breathing that we're going to be doing, go into those sensations. Actually tell yourself it's safe, it's okay, and say yes to them. And actually, if whatever sensation feels the strongest or the most intense, try and make it even stronger. Accept it, embrace it, and try and make it even stronger. So we're going to do just a short round here. It's going to be 3 parts. This is actually Anthony Smigelski of the Positive Pineapples technique. It's called the pineapple breath, and it's 3 parts. It's smell the flower, cool the soup, double sniff with a sigh on the exhale, and in and out through the mouth. So the first, and it's one after the other. So the first one, you breathe in through your nose like you're smelling a flower, out through pursed lips like you're cooling down soup. And we're going to start at about this pace. As we're doing this for everyone, I want you to just put one hand on your stomach, another hand on your chest. So as we're breathing, first you should fill up your stomach with your diaphragm. So you should feel as though you're kind of like, imagine your stomach's a balloon and you're filling it up with your breath, and your hand should be pushed out from your stomach. Diaphragm, your stomach fills up first, then high into the chest, and then on the exhale, you're just letting go, letting the air come out. Deep breaths, also full breaths. Breathe into capacity, and then you're exhaling, just kind of letting the breath go with no tension. And that's true of all of these. So the first one, like I said, is the smell the flower, cool the soup. The second part is a double sniff with a sigh on the exhale. So first sniff fills that belly. So the belly pops, and the second sniff, you fill the chest, and then you sigh on the exhale. So it kind of sounds like this. And then the third part, really easy, just in and out through the mouth. So I suggest if you're watching at home, if you're playing along, take a sip of water first, because your throat might get a little dry. Starting out with smell the flower, cool the soup. We're just going to jump right into it. Make sure you're supported. Deep into the belly, high into the chest. In 3, 2, 1. Now double the rate of your breathing. And speed up again. As fast as you can. Deep and majestic, and start to slow down. Jumping right into the double snap. Sigh out. Continue breathing. Continue. By now you should be starting to feel some tingling, some new sensations in the body, some aliveness in the body, a little lightheaded. Whatever you're feeling, breathe into it and make it even stronger. Say yes to your experience. Yes to whatever you're feeling. Intensify the sensations. Continue breathing and make them stronger. Breathe into whatever the strongest sensation of your body is and try to make that even stronger, saying yes to whatever you're experiencing. Yes to life. Yes to the now. Double your pace now. Even faster. Slow down a little, deep and majestic. Last part of the breath, in and out through the mouth. Keep the breath circular. No pause between the in and the out breath. Continue breathing. Through the mouth, in and out the mouth. Continue breathing. By now you should be feeling very strong sensations, very strong tingling, very strong lightheadedness, aliveness, energy sensations throughout the body. Make them stronger. Say yes, yes, yes with every breath to whatever you're feeling. And now double your pace. And a little bit faster. Double your pace again. And just for this last minute, as fast and as hard as you can possibly breathe. I'm right there with you, 30 more seconds. Deep and majestic, start to slow down. Deep and majestic. Deep breath in and hold at the top. Exhale, empty your lungs and hold with your lungs empty. Just hold. Your body is fully oxygenated. There's no need to breathe for the time being. Just feel your body. Deep breath fully in. Pack your lungs full. More air, more. Relax your shoulders and hold. Squeeze your body from the perineum up, a gentle squeeze from the bottom of your body up to your middle of your head, just a gentle squeeze. Squeeze a little tighter and a little tighter, and exhale and relax all the muscles in your body. Take a moment to just feel your body, be present right here in the now. Feel the aliveness, the change in consciousness, the change in the way that you feel, the way your body feels, the way that your thoughts are flowing. Any changes that you notice, take note of them and feel the aliveness in your body. Feel the beauty and the stillness that is present in this moment right here, right now. For everyone else who's watching, you get to just ride this out, just enjoy this, just be. And while we're in this beautiful altered state, I'm going to ask Jimmy, how are you feeling?
I am buzzing beyond belief, Casey. I feel like a tuning fork right now.
Mm-hmm. Getting high on our own supply.
Ain't that the truth? Amen, brother. Getting high on our Now, Casey, I know I gotta ask, because I'm sure people, this was my main concern the first time I did this. Now, what's the difference between this and hyperventilation? People get concerned about hyperventilation and passing out. I know there was a lot of discussion back in the day of kids doing this and then passing out supposedly. What's the difference between what I was told hyperoxygenation, that's what they described it down in SoulQuest, versus hyperventilation?
So hyperventilation is an uncontrolled it's like a disorder. Yes. People who have severe anxiety, they do this like uncontrolled thing. So this is a controlled breath. We're purging the CO2 from our system on a physiological level. We're purging the CO2 from our system, and that causes our blood goes really alkaline, and it causes a release of all kinds of your endogenous opioids, cannabinoids, serotonin, dopamine, even DMT at a certain point is released as you're doing this breathing. In terms of people being concerned about passing out, no, they've actually done a study. You can look this up. I think if I'm remembering the name of the study, it was, I can't remember, something along the lines of the potential therapeutic benefits of intermittent hypoxia, something along the lines of that. It's out there. If you look up people talking about breathwork on YouTube, I'm sure you'll come across someone with a link to that research study. But they've actually shown. So when we enter into states of hypoxia, even if you were to pass out, in an intermittent way, if you do that all the time, that's not good. But in small doses, it actually has immense healing benefits for the body. So we're taught that, if you pass out, that's like really bad and you're going to damage your brain permanently. Well, they found quite the opposite to be true. And doing this kind of breath work, this controlled breathing that we're doing, and also the goal is not to pass out. You never want to take yourself to the point that you pass out. You just may get sensations that feel like you're going to, and that's totally fine. But they've done studies with this that they have new studies that they're coming out with. They said before that you could actually prevent Alzheimer's and dementia by doing regular breath work. Now they're going so far as to say with this new research that you could actually reverse Alzheimer's and dementia with breath work. So not only is it not damaging to your brain, but it actually vastly improves the health of your brain. And one of the main things doing that diaphragm is acting as a big pump. So we're pumping blood, lymph, cerebral spinal fluid up the central column and into the brain, which helps to nourish the brain. Yeah, all kinds of incredible things happen. I'm honestly not the biggest authority in the science behind breath work. There are many more people who are way more qualified to talk about that than I am. I know what's happening energetically. So energetically, when we breathe in this way, we're flooding the body with far more light, with far more SAMI than we're used to having in our system. And that's what causes this cascade of healing effects and this kind of high that we feel.
Can I say, Casey, that Stanislav Grof, if anybody knows who that is, he was an LSD
Yeah.
researcher in the early 60s. Well, he ended up studying holotropic breathing. So he was looking up the benefits of LSD, people healing with people with post-traumatic stress. But of course, the counterculture got going, and that was all put on the back burner. And so he got into holotropic breathing. And so
he was actually looking for a way to produce effects like LSD without needing to use LSD, and so he discovered breath work. So he coined the term holotropic breath work.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. But as a nurse, can I say that and the benefits of increasing the oxygen in your body, turning your body alkaline rather than acidic has all sorts of benefits, especially with cancer. I know many people know my dad's cancer story of how he was able to naturally get rid of his cancer. Well, one of the big things on when that started going down in our research we discovered is what you want to do is you want to oxygenate the body. Cancer does not like cancer loves an acidic environment. It does not like anything that turns the body alkaline. And so yeah, hyperoxygenating the body, that is one of the results.
Yeah, the blood goes, and then you can measure this. You can actually test this on your own with a pH strip. You can if before doing any breath work, wake up in the morning or whatever, urinate on a pH strip. You test the pH, and then you do a whole bunch of breath work, and then urinate on the pH strip again, and you can actually see your urine is far more alkaline.
Ooh, that's fascinating. I gotta give that a try.
yeah. So it's, I mean, that's something you can just test at home, but obviously they've done studies where, like with Wim Hof and stuff, taking his blood.
Yes, Wim Hof, fascinating. Yeah,
he's an amazing dude. He really is. But all of this stuff, this kind of high that we experienced just now through doing the breathing, you can experience that through exchanging an Aini, through just sending light and receiving light and drinking in the energy that's all around us. We can get to levels of that kind of high that we experienced and far beyond into very, very psychedelic levels.
So, Casey, you mentioned Aini. So could you go back real fast? What is Aini again? Is Aini an energy of the universe? Is that?
No, Aini is Quechua for the way we translate it is divine reciprocity. So
Okay.
you think of when we exhale, we breathe out CO2. The plants take that in and then they use it, and then they give us oxygen, which we breathe in and then give back CO2. That kind of natural, effortless reciprocation that happens all throughout the universe in all different ways. Divine reciprocity. So when I say participating in Aini and building our Aini, if we feed our heaviness to the earth, which heaviness is light condensed down to a slower vibration, or the more dense, more compact vibration. We send our heaviness to the earth, and then in return, she will feed us back all kinds of light. Same thing if there are beings of light, you send out gratitude, love, and just light energy out to different beings. In reciprocation, they'll send you back far more light than you sent out. So it's not an equal exchange, because a lot of people, when they start to study the Pakukundu tradition, they think, oh, Aini, that's like the alchemical law of equivalent exchange. Well, no, it's not, because it's if you send out, at least the way my teacher says it is, we send out buckets of Sami and we get back rivers of Sami. So far more than you give out, you receive, and in this way, everything in the universe grows exponentially through that process.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Awesome. So hey, real quick, you were saying before we got on and started talking that you have some pain.
That I do from work. I have some back pain.
So I would like to give everyone a demonstration of just how effortless it can be to heal ourselves, if you're okay with that. So
that sounds fantastic, Casey. Sure.
Very cool. Okay. So for everyone, this is my Misha. This is the mark of the Paco. Misha is my sacred medicine bundle. It is really the only healing tool that I work with extensively. I don't need this to perform healings, but if this kind of shows to the spirits that I'm working with that, hey, I am a Paco. I've chosen to work and walk down the path of the shaman and the Paco. It's kind of like my mark. So the nature spirits like to see us using this, especially the nature spirits that the Pacos have been working with for thousands of years. But I love this thing very dearly. It's a lot of magic and very powerful ritual went into creating this and birthing this into being. So it's a very powerful thing. So I'll be holding this, and I'm just going to really quickly open up sacred space. So I'm just going to call in the directions. I'm going to do an abbreviated version. I'm calling in all the spirits, but I usually talk and can go on for a while calling in the spirits, but I'll do kind of an abbreviated version here really quick. So I want you to just be in a receptive state. I'll be speaking in Quechua, so you won't understand what I'm saying, unless you happen to speak Quechua.
I got up to about French 4, Casey. French 4 in high school. That was where I drew the line.
So I just want you to be receptive as I'm calling out. I'll be calling to spirits like Mother Earth and Father Sun and Father Wind and Mother Moon, and the Jaguar, the Puma, the Condor. So just be receptive to them entering our space, helping to take us out of our day-to-day mindset or way of functioning and into a medicine space where we can create some real change.
Hey, Pachamama, Mama Pacha, Ampuy, 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 Amaru, Ampuy, Ampuy, Ampuy. Hey, Mama Unu, Mama Kia, Mama Kocha, Antarango, Chokin Chinchai, Ampuy, Ampuy, Ampuy. Ay, inti taita, bilka inti taita, hatan sumak kuntar, ampuy. Ay, kuichi kuna, hatanuma donzen kirkna, pako kuna, yanapak kuna, ampuy. Ay, sexy muhu amaru tiki wira kocha pachamak, ampuy. Hey, Katari kuna, ampuy.
I want you to bring your awareness into the back where you're feeling this pain. And I want you to give me 1 or 2 descriptive words as to how it actually feels in this moment.
Right now, I feel a warm, and a little bit tender.
The tenderness. And now say if we're not talking about pain, because that can be a different scale, let's talk about the discomfort level on a scale of 1 to 10 of discomfort. How uncomfortable is it?
I would say it's about a 4.
4. Okay, very cool. I want you to bring your awareness into that area fully. Feel it for all that it is. To the beings of light and energies that hold the perfect medicine to get at the deepest of the deep wounds and imprints that are causing this physical pain to manifest, to restructure them, to integrate them, to transmute them, turn them back into the light so that this body can feel comfort, health, perfection, harmony once again. Bring your medicine here. Ampuy. Bring your awareness back into the area. If there is any discomfort left there on a scale of 1 to 10, where is it at now?
I'll be honest, Casey. I'm feeling good right now.
So from 4 to 0?
Yep.
Okay. Very cool. That's how quickly it can happen. So I'm going to call upon something really quick. Speaking to the innate intelligence of the spirit, the sleeping God within this body, I call upon you to reclaim your power. Know that you are infinite. Know that you can choose to be free of this pain and discomfort now and forever. That you are now healed. You are now free. You need not worry about anything returning or coming back. You have the choice to be whole and healed now and forever. Nike Kuyaki. Nike Kuyaki, Nike, Nike, Nike. Pretty neat, huh?
Awesome, Casey. Oh, I was starting to get some visuals. Some visuals with my eyes closed. I was starting to get some visuals.
Yep.
That was awesome. Oh my gosh. Man. Boy, I feel good. It's awesome. And so Casey, you can do this at any distance. So you don't. I know a lot of your videos. You're usually close to the people, but does distance play a role really at all, or?
No, because we're all the one living energy. So it doesn't matter if you're on the other side of the planet or if you live on another planet. We can do healings, and so in a way, I'm traveling to you in spirit, and in a way, I'm also collapsing the distance between us so that we're right here together.
You know what? That certainly makes sense to me. I know in my personal experiences, but a lot of the near-death experiences, besides the fact they always bring up love as being the most important thing, it is oneness with the universe. It's all one. It's all, which,
Yeah.
Casey, if you don't mind, I have some questions for you. If I know we're probably coming, I'm not sure if you have plans. I feel bad if I'm holding you up at all.
Just dinner. That's about it.
Oh,
But,
got you, brother.
Yeah, I gave a talk earlier today in front of a group of chiropractors from the largest chiropractic franchise in the country, and so that was kind of like my work for the day. After that, I'm like, yeah, I'm taking it easy.
Did they reach out to you, Casey, or did they see what
this was one of my clients, was the CEO of that company.
Oh, okay.
And he invited me to talk at one of their mastermind events. Once every 4 months, they hold 2 mastermind events where they fly chiropractors in from all around the country, and so I got to give a talk in front of like 40 chiropractors today. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now speaking on food, real quick, what do you recommend when it comes to diet? Is there a special diet when it comes to healing, or what you yourself? What do you like to consume? Have you found that certain things affect your energy, or what's your diet like?
So that's actually interesting. I was vegan for about 3 years.
Okay.
And I actually realized that was something that was a big ego identification that I had, and that it, although I was trying to tell people, how to boil it all down, I realized that it was actually very fear-based. And that it was a big ego identification and a part of my identity that was really keeping me trapped and stuck. So I broke free of that. And in terms of diet, I don't really think anyone knows what we're supposed to be eating, but the biggest rule of thumb I could give people would be to actually listen to your body. So this is a big thing. You feel, so even before you go to consume a food, if you're looking at it, holding it, smelling it, whatever, or even if you're at the grocery store thinking about whether or not you should buy it, you can sit there and tune into we have, like we call it in the Pakukun tradition, it's like the binary dialogue of the universe, is Hucha and Sami, which just mean heavy and light. So if you're there and you're thinking, should I buy this food? Should I eat it? When you think about that, when you imagine yourself eating it or whatever, does your body feel heavy or light? If it feels light, go ahead and eat it. If it makes you feel heavy, well, you could still eat it, but it's probably not going to be the best thing for you.
I gotcha. Oh, that's fascinating.
So that's really the biggest guidance I have for people, is follow what feels light. And it's the binary dialogue of the universe. The entire Kausai Pacha, which means this middle world that we live in, is comprised of Hucha and Sami, equal parts heavy and light. And through that, just like in like this Zoom call that we're having is built on a binary dialogue, zeros and ones, right? Open and closed circuits. In spirit, in this entire universe is built off of the binary dialogue of heavy and light, heavy, light, heavy, light, tense, relaxed, heavy and light. And through that, we get the myriad of forms and communication that we experience. So you can tap into your body, your spirit's most basic guidance system of heavy and light, and just follow the things that feel light. That's my advice for people.
It sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Well, Casey, I'm not going to hold you up from dinner any longer, but where could people find you if they're looking for a healing? Or I know you have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, so definitely check out The Space Shaman. You'll see my face on there if you pop on the channel, I'm sure, but I'm pretty sure I'm the only one on YouTube called The Space Shaman. So if you look that up, please subscribe there. The more people that subscribe, the more I'm able to spread this magic of spirituality and healing. And I want to help as many people as I possibly can. So the more subscribers, the more I get served up, the more watch time, the more I get served up. So that's a really big way to help me to help other people, is just subscribing to the YouTube channel and watching the videos. That's a big thing. If you want to reach out to me, I have a website. It's shamanswayhealing.com, but it's currently under construction. So I don't know when this will be airing, if it will be fixed then. It's kind of up in the air. I'm working things out. But in the meantime, you can reach out to me at Casey, C-A-S-E-Y, the space shaman @gmail.com. Message me with any questions. If you want to book a session, all of these things, that's where you can get a hold of me.
And everyone, you can find me on Telegram at Jimmy_D93. That's probably the best way to reach me. Of course, me and my dad's website, www.thenaturanswerforcancer. If you have any loved ones with cancer, please send me any messages through Telegram. That'll probably be the best way to reach me. But Casey, I want to thank you so much for your time, brother. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, thank you. This has been beautiful. I've had a lot of fun. It was wonderful to connect and sit down and talk with you and share medicine and space. Yeah.
Absolutely. And thanks to everybody who's listening or watching. We send you nothing but love. You heard it here first. Maybe not first, but it's all about love, folks.
Yes,
all
it
right.
is. And speaking of that, I'd like to say to everyone, a Nike Kuyeki Arpi Chaisam Kulai, which is Quechua for thank you, I love you, a dove from my heart to you.
Well, I think that's beautiful to end on. We'll end it right there. Thank you again, Casey.